Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with another brand new Takara Tomy Jurassic World Rebirth set. As you can see, this time we've got ourselves a triple pack featuring an exclusive Dolores the Aquilops as well as an exclusive Spinosaurus. Now the sculpt of the Spino is the same as the last one, but it's got a new color scheme. The Mosasaurus though is the same figure as the previously released version. So package wise, you can see we've got a really cool shot of the Mosasaurus, the Jurassic World logo up here, but obviously not in English, the Takara Tomy logo up there. Over here on the side, a shot of a few of the different, actually all of the different figures. And then here on the back, you can see some images as far as like the articulation goes. Basically over here, the full lineup of the Takara Tomy Jurassic World Rebirth figures, as well as, again, some images up here, basically showing us what the cards will look like. And then over here, just some more images of the figures, and then pretty much the same thing up there on the top. So let's pop the box open and check them out. So here is our Spino, here is our Aqualops, as well as our Mosasaurus. Does the Aqualops have, oh, it does have head articulation, that's pretty cool. And we also have some cards, and that's pretty cool. I like the fact that they've been including these cards with the newer Takara Tomy figures. You can see a Mosasaurus card, a Spinosaurus card, as well as an Aqualops card, something you couldn't get prior to this because, again, that species is exclusive completely to this set. So pretty sweet cards. But again, the figures are pretty darn nice overall, especially when it comes to Takara Tomy. As I already mentioned, though, the Mosasaurus, actually I'm going to readjust the camera just a little bit just to get it a little higher so the lighting seems a little better to me. But as I already mentioned, the Mosasaurus is the exact same figure that we had previously. It's the same sculpt, the same paint. Nothing really differs this one from the other one, so there's no real need to go over the Mosasaurus again. If you want to see a better look at this one, definitely check out my full review that I have up on the channel of this Mosasaurus. Now I guess I just have two of this figure because sometimes you just have to do that to get other exclusives like we have here. But it is a pretty cool Mosasaurus, definitely a fun addition to the Takara Tomy line. But the one that I was most interested in this set is this one, which is the Aqualops, and honestly that's probably one of the nicest looking versions of Dolores out on the market right now. Sculpt wise, I think it looks really good. Definitely has some very impressive fine detail. When you get nice and close, you can see that there. Really nice looking scale detail in the face. You have a dark brown there for the beak. The beak is a little sloppily painted. You can see one area there doesn't really feature any paintwork, even though it should, but that's not too terrible, I guess. Same deal actually with the little horn on the top of the snout right there. Also is a little bit missed as far as the paintwork goes, but it's not too terrible. We do have the nostrils sculpted out, the eyes painted with a black, given a nice white spot there to kind of give it some eye shine. This little horn back here also has a dark brown tone. You have primarily yellowish tones of color with some brown, especially up there in the frill. You can see the brown kind of highlighting the outer edges of the frill, and I think it looks really good. Definitely very smooth as far as the application of that paint goes. Some nice skin wrinkles and stuff as you move down to the underside of the throat and along the back of and side of actually of the neck. We can see the throat itself. Articulation wise, again, you can swivel the head completely here, which is pretty cool. Does it have any up and down? Yes, it does actually. It does have a little up and down movement and some left and right, so you can actually get the head turned pretty nicely. That actually might be some of the most fun articulation I've seen on a Takara Tomy release. As you move back through the body, again, really smooth transition to the brown up there on the back, again to the yellowish tones here of the side, and an even brighter tone of color for the underbelly of the dinosaur. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we have any leg articulation. Nope, no leg articulation at all, which is upsetting, but we do have some nice looking scale detail as you move down through the body, some musculature in the legs as well. We have a lighter tone as you lead down through the legs to the, again, lower parts of the legs. You've got the feet sculpted nicely, the toes sculpted nicely, and the nails painted with a dark grayish tone. You can really see the rear foot looking really good. And then you lead back up into the tail, and you have, again, that nice mixture of the light tone, some of the more vibrant, darker browns. You also can articulate the tail left and right, but it is that super awkward articulation that doesn't really look very good or natural, but you do have a nice striping as you lead out through the tail. If you do just slight turns, it doesn't look too bad, but it's when you get a really sharp turn that it then just looks like the tail is completely broken. The figure looks pretty much the same from both sides, of course. You can see, again, the legs are pretty close to in a neutral position, so not much in the way of difference from one side to the other. But it is still a really cool Aqualops figure. Really happy to have that one. Then the Spino, again, same sculpt as the previously released version, just very different coloration. We have a nice brownish tone, almost like a chocolate bar brown for the primary body color. We can see the teeth are definitely pretty ugly as far as the paintwork goes. Again, the teeth themselves aren't really elaborated because there's just too much and too thick of paintwork on the teeth. We did have that same issue with the first version of the Spinosaurus. You can see the teeth a little better on the lower jaw, but the teeth on the upper jaw are really quite just blended together. We have a pink for the tongue there on the inside of the mouth, and a pink that runs up there to the upper side of the inside of the mouth. Of course, an articulated jaw, which was super stiff, but once you actually break it in, does work pretty nicely. As you move back into the body, you do have a yellowish sort of a tone for the underbelly that starts in the underside of the lower jaw and moves the entire way through the dinosaur all the way out here into the tail until you get to that third little segment, or I guess you would call it the third segment here. It disappears right before that. You do have a yellow that overtakes the back of the dinosaur, and then more of the brown, pretty much the same tone of brown you see here, that stripes down from the back of the Spinosaurus, and you do see that lead the entire way out through the tail, which does look really cool. And again, you do also have articulation in the legs, forward and back. Same deal for the opposing leg. And then you have the, again, awkward looking articulation for the tail, but at least it is kind of better than the ball joints, but in some cases, I guess not so much. It's another one of those instances where if you only turn the tail a little bit, it can look okay, but when you turn it really sharp, it's now hideous. But we have already, again, gone over the sculpt and everything of this figure. We really only needed to see what was new, which was the paint apps. Also, you do have yellow eyes with a black pupil. But that's really about all that's new for this one. But it is fun to have two different versions of the Rebirth Spinosaurus, as there are quite a few. Size-wise, I think the only one we really need to measure would be this little guy here. For Dolores, you are looking at about 2 3/4 inches, or around 7 centimeters in length. We have already measured all of these other figures here before, but for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being next to our Takara Tomy 3-pack, and you can see again, they're pretty much exactly where you would expect them to be size-wise. You can also see that Dolores is a little bit big, I would say, as far as Dolores figures should be. Again, as far as they go, it's definitely bigger than the Mattel version that was in the Spinosaurus Danger Pack and stuff. So if you are interested in a small version of Dolores, but a little bit bigger than some of the others, this is a pretty good one to go with. Overall, though, you can see they're, for the most part, all in the same similar size range you would normally expect for Takara Tomy figures. And then for a comparison with the Dolores from Mattel, which I think I said was from the Spino set, it's actually from the D-Rex Island Escape set. But here you have that comparison showing you that the Takara Tomy version on the right is definitely a bit larger. And we've even got the Marco Makes / Bradley Ford version here, which you can as well see is a bit smaller than Takara Tomy's. So this brand new Jurassic World Rebirth triple pack from Takara Tomy is pretty cool, honestly. I like the set as a whole. It's fun to have a different paint variant of the Spino. Again, same sculpt as the original version of the Spinosaurus, which I think is a pretty good interpretation of the Rebirth Spinosaurus. But also, again, with some fresh new paint application to it, fresh new color scheme that does differ it from the original version. And I think it looks okay as far as that goes. You do also have the Mosasaurus, which again is just a total repack of the previously released version. No new paint application or features to this one that differs from the original version. So if you have the original, you don't need to grab this one. And then you also have a really cool Aqualops, again, a cool Dolores figure, which is new to this set, which is definitely very exciting to have. And of course, I love Dolores. I think Dolores overall was quite a highlight in Jurassic World Rebirth, so really quite enjoying getting new versions of her. And this is one of the nicest overall that I've seen. So as a whole, it is a pretty darn cool set. It's also one of the sets that I think is more worth the money, because there is also a 3-pack that does feature the T-Rex, a small Triceratops, which is actually just a repack of an older Triceratops, and a Titanosaurus, but there's nothing really new that I've noticed on those figures, so I didn't feel the need to buy that set again. And then there's also a Pterosaur set, which I have as well, which will be reviewed soon. But I personally feel like, as far as the 3-packs go, this is definitely the best set overall, especially if you did already purchase the original figures. But if you didn't, then this is a great set either way, because you could definitely get yourself some really cool ones again in this set. So if you are interested, I will include a link actually to where I purchased it, which is a very interesting site that I had never heard of. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but if you check the link in the description, it will take you to where you can purchase this on there. Or of course you can also grab it on eBay. I have seen it on there. I think I've seen it on AliExpress, but it's a little bit pricey there. But one way or another, I recommend it, so grab it if you want it, and like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.